You walk into the gym and within minutes, your muscles begin to swell, skin tightens, veins rise. It feels like instant progress, almost like you are building muscle in real time. That is exactly where the illusion begins. The pump creates a powerful sensory signal that mimics growth, but the underlying process is fundamentally different. What you are experiencing is a rapid increase in blood flow combined with intracellular fluid accumulation. As you perform repeated contractions, metabolites like lactate and inorganic phosphate build up, drawing water into the muscle cell. At the same time, nitric oxide-mediated vasodilation expands blood vessels, increasing plasma delivery. This combination can increase muscle volume acutely by a noticeable margin, sometimes up to 20%, according to data published in the Journal of Applied Physiology. It feels dramatic because it is immediate and visible, but structurally nothing new has been built. No additional contractile proteins have been added. No long-term architectural change has occurred. Within a few hours, sometimes less, circulation stabilizes, metabolites clear, and the muscle returns to baseline size. The real issue is not the pump itself. It is how easily it manipulates perception. When your brain links that full tight feeling with progress, your training decisions begin to shift without you realizing it. You start favoring lighter weights, shorter rest periods, and higher repetitions because they amplify that sensation. This creates a feedback loop where feeling replaces measurement. Brad Schoenfeld summarizes this clearly. The pump is transient and does not necessarily correlate with hypertrophy. The consequence is not immediate failure, it is slow stagnation. Weeks of effort can pass with minimal structural change because the primary driver of growth, mechanical tension, is no longer the priority. The solution is precise control over what you measure. Treat the pump as a temporary physiological response, not as evidence of adaptation. Anchor your evaluation to variables that persist, load progression, rep quality, and performance over time. If the stimulus is real, it will remain after the sensation disappears. What actually drives muscle growth is not how full the muscle feels, but how much tension it is forced to produce under load. This is where the distinction becomes precise. Mechanical tension is created when muscle fibers generate force against resistance, especially in lengthened and mid-range positions. As load increases or as fatigue accumulates near failure, more motor units are recruited, including high threshold fibers with the greatest growth potential. This recruitment triggers intracellular signaling pathways, most notably mTOR, which regulates protein synthesis. A meta-analysis in sports medicine showed that hypertrophy is strongly correlated with training performed close to failure, regardless of rep range, because that is where effective tension is maximized. The pump can exist without this level of tension. You can use light weights, short rest intervals, and high repetitions to create significant metabolic stress and still avoid deep fiber recruitment. The muscle burns, swells, and feels exhausted, but the actual mechanical stimulus remains limited. That creates a disconnect between effort and adaptation. As Stuart Phillips explains, muscle hypertrophy is primarily driven by mechanical tension and the recruitment of muscle fibers, not the sensation of fatigue. The body responds to demand, not discomfort. If the fibers are not sufficiently challenged, there is no reason to build additional contractile tissue. The consequence is subtle but compounding. Training sessions feel productive, fatigue is high, and recovery feels earned, yet performance metrics do not improve. Load stays the same, repetitions plateau, and muscle size remains unchanged over time. This is where many lifters get stuck, believing they are training hard when they are not training effectively. The solution is to anchor your training around progressive overload with intent. Each session should aim to increase either load, repetitions, or execution quality under meaningful resistance. Use controlled tempo, full range of motion, and proximity to failure to ensure high fiber recruitment. The pump can still occur, but it becomes a byproduct, not the goal. When tension leads, growth follows. This is where the long-term cost becomes visible, not in a single session, but across months of training. When you consistently prioritize the pump over progression, you create a pattern where effort is high, but stimulus is inconsistent. The body adapts only when it is exposed to demands it has not yet mastered. Without increasing tension over time, there is no biological pressure to build new muscle tissue. Instead, the system becomes efficient at handling the same workload. This is the definition of a plateau. A review in the Journal of Strength and Conditioning Research highlights that progressive overload is a primary requirement for continued hypertrophy, not optional. The mechanism is straightforward but often ignored. Muscle protein synthesis increases after training, but if the stimulus does not exceed previous sessions, the magnitude of that response diminishes over time. The body essentially says this is already handled. At the same time, chasing the pump often leads to excessive fatigue through high volume and short rest intervals. That fatigue can reduce performance in subsequent sessions, limiting your ability to apply higher tension when it actually matters. As Mike Israetel states, if you are not progressively overloading, you are not providing a novel stimulus for growth. Yeah, the result is a frustrating loop. You feel exhausted, you look temporarily bigger during workouts, but objectively nothing changes. The consequence is not just physical stagnation, it is lost time. Months or even years can pass with minimal return because training is guided by sensation instead of measurable progression. This creates a false sense of productivity that delays real improvement. The solution is to shift your focus to performance trends across weeks, not feelings within a session. Track your lifts, monitor rep quality, and ensure that at least some sets are approaching true muscular failure under meaningful load. Let fatigue exist, but do not let it dictate your strategy. When progression becomes the target, adaptation becomes the outcome. The solution is not to eliminate the pump, but to assign it the correct role within a structured system. The mistake is treating it as the primary driver of growth, when in reality it is a secondary effect that can support but not replace mechanical tension. Effective hypertrophy training integrates both, but in a specific order. You begin with exercises that allow high force production, typically compound or stable movements performed with controlled tempo and sufficient load. These sets should approach failure within a moderate rep range, often between 5 and 10 repetitions where fiber recruitment is maximized. According to guidelines from the American College of Sports Medicine, working at 65 to 85% of one repetition maximum is effective for hypertrophy when sets are taken close to failure. This is where the primary growth signal is established. Once that stimulus is in place, the pump becomes useful. Higher repetition sets with shorter rest intervals can increase metabolic stress, enhance cell swelling, and potentially improve nutrient delivery to the muscle. Brad Schoenfeld notes, metabolic stress may act as a complementary pathway to hypertrophy when combined with mechanical tension. The key word is complementary. Without the initial tension, the contribution of the pump is limited. With it, the pump can reinforce the training effect and improve mind-muscle connection, especially in isolation movements. The consequence of applying this structure is clarity. You no longer rely on how the workout feels to judge effectiveness. Instead, you know that if tension and progression are in place, growth is being stimulated regardless of the immediate sensation. The pump becomes a tool you use intentionally, not a signal you chase. The actionable step is simple and specific. In your next workout, choose one primary exercise per muscle group and track load and repetitions across weeks, aiming to improve at least one variable. After that, add one higher repetition set, 12 to 20 reps, with controlled form and short rest to induce a pump. Keep the roles separate, tension builds the muscle, the pump supports the environment.